All right. Hello, Council Member Mark Levine.
Hello, Skye. It's great to see you.
Thank you for joining us on Life Before the Virus. And I know you've been extremely busy as the chair of the Health Committee for the New York City Council. And before we even talk about what you were working on before the virus, I'd love to just jump right in and hear how it's going on the front lines.
Well, we're still in the heat of the crisis here in New York City. And so, in my role as health chair, I am looking to amplify the voices of frontline workers, people in the ERs, and other people doing essential work, and looking to push out the science that experts are telling us we need to pay attention to. Sometimes, not every leader is willing to listen to this. And I feel like we need to hear tough truths whether we like it or not. That's going to come into play in a big way in the upcoming decisions about when and how to reopen the economy. I know that we're all itching to get back out there, that there's economic motivations, but the truth is we got to follow the data. And if we open before it's safe, we risk having another outbreak that could be a huge setback. We've seen that happen in Asia. So I'm spending a lot of time looking at the question of exactly when should we reopen and what should be the benchmarks that tell us it's time.
So you've been one of the most vocal leaders out there for tweeting and getting the message out and communicating with constituents and all of New York City, really. And I thank you for that. And how challenging has that been coming forward and making some statements that maybe others aren't making?
Look, I think that the people of the city want and deserve honesty, that they understand we're in an unprecedented crisis and they want us to be straight with them. And when there's tough decisions, to be upfront about it and to explain why those decisions are being made. And so I've seen my role as being one of sharing the facts with the public, facts that are coming into me from the front lines of people in hospitals and emergency rooms, people in the public health profession. And some of that is tough stuff, but I think the public deserves to hear it straight. And so I'm going to continue to communicate it in a thoughtful, respectful, and balanced way.
So how have you structured your staff now since you're all working remotely? How do you function as an office?
Well, we obviously closed our district office weeks ago, and we have managed to rebuild the operation virtually. So we call the landline for our district office that rolls over to staff cell phones. We created a virtual storefront on Facebook, and we've been doing a series of online live Q&As, alternating between Spanish and English, sometimes just myself, sometimes with experts or with folks from the city government who can be helpful to constituents. And we're also proactively, we're developing a volunteer phone brigade so that we can call vulnerable people in the district, especially seniors who are homebound, who might not be getting all the text alerts and social media postings that the health department's pushing out and need to hear from a human being who can speak to them in their language about what is the latest health advice. So we're trying to reach people in every way we can. I mean, people are really in need right now in this district. They are suffering economically, not just medically. Countless thousands are no longer getting a paycheck. The demand for food from food banks is sky high, through the roof. We did a mobile food bank at my district office a couple weeks ago. We had 250 people come in a social distance format to pick up fresh food from us. We're going to be doing it again next week. It's really tragic how many people are in need right now, and we need to do more to get them economic assistance, to get them food assistance, to support small businesses, gig workers, entrepreneurs. All of them are suffering now, and they need help from us.
So what were some of the things that you were working on before the virus?
Wow, it's almost hard to think back to that. I mean, I know it was only 5 or 6 weeks ago, but it feels like a lifetime. Um, I've been very involved in the last year in a campaign to protect young people from the dangers of vaping. We passed a ban on flavored e-cigarettes in New York City, and that was a tough fight. The tobacco companies hired every lobbyist in town practically. We won that, and it's interesting that in this crisis, vaping has come up in many different ways. One, because reportedly, in the early conversations with the HHS Commissioner Azar on the dangers of the coronavirus, the president only wanted to talk about how angry he was about a ban on flavored e-cigarettes. And more recently, we're learning that ongoing use of both tobacco and vaping devices is putting people at risk for coronavirus. So I'm really grateful that we made some steps early before this virus came to protect young people from this danger. But it's a reminder that these products are not safe. They're not safe for kids, and they should not be seen as glamorous or stylish in any way. They're delivering nicotine, which, as you know, is a very addictive chemical.
Mm-hmm. And now back to today, are you having regular conversations with at the state level? Like, what's the communication been on the government side, top down? I know you mentioned you've been in contact in the district with hospitals and healthcare workers, but what's sort of the conversation between the authority figures?
Well, personally, I feel very lucky because I've had great communication with health leaders at the city and state level. And I think that we are incredibly lucky to have such a high caliber of public health leaders, again, at both the city and state level. Some of the most amazing people I've ever worked with. They've taken a lot of heat unfairly at times, in my opinion. But I think the city should take a lot of comfort in the caliber of scientists and public health professionals and medical doctors who are leading the city and state health departments. And I've been fortunate to talk to them. And those two departments are really communicating quite well. And frankly, at the agency level, communication with the federal government also has been really good. In fact, Dr. Anthony Fauci himself personally has been communicating a great deal directly with city and state authorities. Actually, Governor Cuomo has talked a number of times about conversations he's had regularly with Dr. Fauci. I believe that Mayor de Blasio has as well. So I think at least at the level of agency experts, the collaboration has been really good, and we can be grateful for that.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, everyone's asking the question, are we at the apex yet? And is it time for us to maybe loosen up a little bit? And, the data's a little bit all over the place, but I think most people feel right now, yes, we're at something of a plateau. But I want people to understand that that's a plateau of 2,000 new hospital admissions a day in New York State. So from inside the hospitals, nobody's celebrating. It's still really rough. It's still almost unprecedented in the flood of patients coming in. And it might be that way for a while. And, it took us a long time to ramp up to this plateau. If indeed we're here, it's going to take us a long time to ramp down. We should assume that the month of April is going to be really tough, the whole month. We hope May will be better, but we're not going to be back to normal in May. And I think you really need to look at June for significant improvement. But until we have a vaccine, we're going to still need to leave a lot of protections in place. And I know people aren't happy to hear that because a vaccine could be a long way away. Mm-hmm. But let's be safe. Let's learn from other countries who have made the mistake of opening up too early. Let's continue to watch the data. Let's celebrate the progress we've made through social distancing, but let's not let our guard down yet.
And what about having people come out to donate blood and plasma to these research hospitals that are looking for a
I
cure.
am just so inspired by the team of volunteers that's come together to build Survivor Core. Yourself, Skye, Diana, and so many others who could have recovered and moved on to other things, but are instead giving back, potentially in the most intimate way possible by giving of their blood and organizing and agitating to expand the system for donation of plasma by those people who have recovered. It's one of the most inspiring stories in an otherwise very difficult time for me. And I talk to people in hospitals and they are cheering on Survivor Core. They are extremely excited about the movement out there that's going to bring people in to give of themselves to protect those who are still fighting in our hospitals.
Thank you. What an awesome plug right there.
You got it from the heart.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for everything you're doing. And I'll be sure to post this along with information on your town halls and meetings you have coming up so everyone can follow along your
Thanks,
active
Skye.
voice. And thank you for being an
All
advocate.
right. Be well now. Stay